What's up, gang? Daniel here with some more realistic, non-hypey jump training content. I'm pretty consistently disgusted and disappointed by all the quick fix, hypey social media content that I see. Try to provide you guys with more realistic view, just kind of, show you the steps you can take, show you the path to get on, and you just, get on it, start walking, and see how far you can get. And I just really can't do anything other than have that honest approach, right? It just doesn't sit right with me to do anything other than that. So I want to show you some examples of some guys who have taken some of those good steps, got on the path, made some progress. So these guys are all using the Jump Science program. None of them are superstars, but all have been able to reach, honestly, pretty high levels of vertical. I mean, they all have well over 0.80 air time on these jumps that I'm about to show, which is pretty bouncy. That means you're looking at least high 30s approach vert. So this first guy, I don't even remember where he started exactly. He's been on Jump Science for a while, so I think he did the Level Up program to be able to grab the rim, and then he's got on PhD and has made further progress. And this is him dunking a water bottle, and yeah, he's not that tall, so he's pretty bouncy to be able to be doing that. Then there's just a couple more examples. You can pause to read the testimonials if you want. And then there's some more thoughts on training at the end. So you got different scenarios in training, right? So you have the scenario of a talented athlete with a good background of playing sports and jumping throughout their childhood. And so maybe by the time they're 15 years old, they already have a 30+ inch approach vertical, but they haven't even done any formal training, right? So then in that context, that athlete just continues to be an athlete and jump, and then adds some decent strength training. They're most likely going to see some really great results in a pretty short period of time even. You may find that they go from, let's say low 30s up to 40 or higher, and that might happen within 6 months even, right? Things can happen really fast in that situation. So that's sort of your dream training scenario, right? But there's also another scenario where you have somebody who is maybe less talented, maybe a little bit less background of obsessive jumping. Maybe they played sports but never really spent time committed to jumping specifically. So they have not shaped their body with that activity. They don't have these specific abilities in place. So explosiveness, coordination, elasticity, right? Those types of things. And so that person, then, if they just add strength training, they may not see a lot of transfer from it because the specific is lacking. The general doesn't create as much of a difference. Okay, so on one hand, you have an athlete who goes from low 30s up into the 40s very easily, very short period of time. On the other hand, you might have an athlete who's their approach vert's only 25, and getting them up to 30 might actually be really difficult and take a long time. But one such person who has that type of scenario might be your quote-unquote average Joe, who's 25 plus, maybe wasn't a genetically super talented athlete, maybe didn't have a history of jumping a ton and being obsessed with that activity during their younger years, but then they decide they want to go on this dunk journey or this jump journey. And so that's a situation where you don't have those specific abilities developed, and maybe that person has even done some strength training and gotten kind of strong, but it hasn't translated to much. So in that case, you're trying to manufacture that athletic talent, right? The explosive talent, the elasticity. You're trying to manufacture that rather than just add strength. And that is much more difficult and takes more time, especially when somebody's not a kid anymore, right? So you're not going to replace that, 5-10 years of obsessive jumping during childhood with 6 months of a jump journey, right? Like it takes a long time to reshape the body for that activity, especially when you're not young. So, you got these people who maybe they're 30 years old and they can touch the rim. Getting them that 6 to 8 extra inches to dunk might be super, super difficult and might take a long time. Now, another example of someone who may not have those specific abilities developed yet is actually young kids, right? Just because they haven't had the history yet, they haven't had the years added on yet. So maybe they play sports, but in terms of like targeted sprint and jump and plyometric work, they might be lacking that. And so again, even with a young kid, you might find that adding strength actually doesn't produce dramatic results because they need that specific in place first. So there's a couple of narratives that I just want to vehemently reject. And one is that getting an average Joe to dunk is easy, right? It's not. It's definitely not. You will have guys who used to be able to jump really high, and then they may be able to regain that ability from their youth relatively easy just by getting in shape, getting strong again, maybe improving their flexibility a little bit, losing some weight. But yeah, somebody who's never had it and then they're trying to manufacture that in their 30s, not easy. And then the other narrative I want to reject is this idea that, oh, well, young kids will get better from just doing anything. No, you'd be surprised, okay? As somebody who works with young kids, as somebody who works with varying talent levels among young kids, I can tell you that just doing anything will not help them improve, okay? They actually need to be doing the right things. Just exercising in general oftentimes does not get the job done. And that's why, by 15, 16 years old, you see, okay, these kids are fast. These kids are not. A lot of them have been doing the same stuff. They've been playing sports. They've been, running sprints in practice, lifting weights. There's a clear difference between those. Some of them have excelled on that a lot more than others. And so you have to ask the question, okay, what do those other ones need to do to manufacture that ability? And it's not just anything, right? I promise you it is not just whatever you feel like doing. So I want to reject that narrative that young kids are just going to get better no matter what.